Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'd like to share with you 10 tips of how to start and continue breastfeeding successfully. My baby is now 9 months old and I feel like I learned so many really helpful tips while breastfeeding him and just before giving birth that I feel would help so many other new mamas or the ones who didn't manage to breastfeed the first baby or the second baby but would like to breastfeed the next. So I can't wait to share all of this information with you, and I really hope that it helps. So let's get started. The first tip I would give to anyone is to make sure you equip yourself with knowledge before you even give birth. Knowledge is the most helpful thing together with mindset, but we'll talk about the mindset a little bit later in the video. But for now, just make sure you know what exactly you're going to be doing, how you're going to be doing it, and the more you know, the less you're going to be stressed and scared of the whole process of breastfeeding. The only book I would recommend, and the only book I needed myself, is Ina Meyer's Guide to Breastfeeding. It gave me all the skills, all the knowledge I needed to make it happen. I think every pregnant woman should read it. Also watch breastfeeding videos on YouTube if you like, to see what exactly a good latch looks like, what exactly a good positioning looks like. It is so helpful, especially if you don't have any friends or family members breastfeeding their babies around you. Like in my case, YouTube videos can be really so helpful. Next tip is positioning. It's so important to get positioning right. And if you don't know how exactly it needs to be done, it's so easy to get it wrong. Like if you try to position the baby kind of straight on, it's not going to work and the nipple is going to hurt big time. What you need to do is the kind of offset latch. The baby should always touch your nipple with a chin first. It's kind of like when you try to bite off a big piece of a sandwich, let's say, you kind of start biting with the bottom of your mouth and then the top. And exactly the same thing applies to breastfeeding. You should start with the chin and then the top of the mouth, and in this way the nipple will be protected. The whole areola should be in the baby's mouth, not just the nipple but the whole areola. And also the whole positioning of the body is very important too. The head should be in line with the whole torso, because just try and imagine drinking yourself with, let's say, your head kind of turned like this away from the body is not exactly comfortable to swallow, and the same thing applies to the baby. So I really cannot stress enough how important positioning is. And that leads me to the next point, which is don't afraid to readjust and reposition the baby even 100 times if necessary in the first few days. A lot of moms kind of don't want to disturb the baby. They feel sorry for the baby because it's crying, wants to eat, it's hungry. But the thing is, if you don't get it right in the first few days, it will be much harder to get it right later. Also because the baby will be used to eating a certain way, which might be wrong. And second, your nipples will be so painful that, again, it will be really difficult to do anything at that point. So it's so important to get it right away. In the first 24 hours in the hospital, I latched and unlatched my baby probably 100 times. I did it even 20 times in a row if I needed to, until there was zero pain at all and he was eating successfully. Beyond 24 hours, I didn't really have to do it again. So it might be hard work for the first day, but it definitely pays off. And how do you know when the latch is good? You'll know when there is no pain. There shouldn't be any pain at all when the latch is good beyond maybe the first few seconds. I was sharing the hospital room with other two ladies and I saw them making this mistake, and I hear a lot of women speaking about it, that they just breastfeed through the pain, and you really don't have to do it. If it's painful, the latch is wrong, keep trying again and again and again 100 times until it's not painful anymore. Another thing to know is that milk doesn't come in until maybe 2, 3, 4 days after postpartum. A lot of women don't know about it, and I'm really surprised. I was sharing the hospital room with two other women and they just gave birth to their third baby. So you'd think that someone with a third baby would know this, but they did not. The babies were crying for milk. They thought that they didn't have any milk, and so they resorted them to feeding them with bottles, even though if they had read a little bit more about it, they would have known that what the baby needs and what they're providing for him or her at that moment is just colostrum and nothing else. So if you equip yourself with knowledge and you know that milk doesn't come in until a couple of days later at least, you'll have zero stress and you won't worry that the milk is not coming in. So not stressing is so important. The next thing to keep in mind is that sitting down or half sitting down in bed to breastfeed is not the only position, and probably not even the best position when the baby is just born and you're recovering after giving birth or after a C-section. So as soon as I gave birth, the nurses tried to show me how to breastfeed sitting down, and that's not something I wanted. I wanted to either do the physiological position, which is kind of reclining, lying down, or the side lying position. Now, the reclining position, the physiological position didn't work for me with the shape of my body, with the shape of my boobs, but the side lying position was amazing because for the next 2 weeks when I couldn't move at all, side lying position really saved me. I couldn't have breastfed him in any other way. And it's so convenient for the baby as well. When you have to feed them every hour, every 2 hours throughout the night, it is so good to just be able to sleep through it, to just relax and not have to sit in an uncomfortable position. The next tip is about not having enough milk. I personally never encountered that, but my mom didn't have enough milk with both my sister and I. She lost her milk production pretty early on, and it's sad because in those days doctors didn't really know much about it. Natural remedies weren't really that trendy at that time, at least where we were living. So my sister and I kind of missed out on breast milk, and that's really sad. But today we know that there are so many different things that you can try to increase your milk production. So one, of course, is the behavior. So making sure that you breastfeed the baby whenever they're hungry, and often when there's not enough milk they will want to breastfeed all the time because that's how they promote breast milk production. Nature is very clever. There are also lots of different herbs like shatavari. Shatavari is my favorite one, and that's so good for increasing milk production as well. Certain foods, like for example oats, are really good as well. You can make lovely breastfeeding cookies. They usually have oats and a few other things, and they really help as well. So don't give up. There's so many things you can try. And of course, don't forget to look after yourself, to make sure you sleep whenever the baby sleeps, you rest enough, because if you're super tired, that definitely affects milk production. And of course, we're all super tired when we have newborns, but if you sleep when the baby sleeps, I promise it's going to make things so much easier. Now, if you have the opposite problem, having too much milk, which is something that I experienced for the first 6 months, there are also things you can do. You can try to feed only at certain intervals, which is what I started doing, and it really changed my life. So I started feeding my baby every 3 hours instead of whenever you wanted. When he was maybe 3 months old, and that really made things so much better. You can also try things like block feeding, which is feeding from one side for a certain period of time. I had to do it for quite a while. At a certain point, I had to block feed him from just one side for up to 12 hours, and even that was not bringing the production down enough. And you might think, oh, you're so blessed to have too much milk, but the truth is that having too much milk can cause almost as many issues as not having enough milk. So of course, having optimal production is perfect, and both extremes can be very stressful for both mom and baby. And then of course, overreactive milk letdown is also something that often goes with excessive milk production, and that's something I experienced as well. My baby was just choking, screaming. It was a really scary time in our journey, but we survived, and you will do too. And the next tip is, if the baby refuses to breastfeed, like for example, if you have overreactive letdown, something that helped me a lot is a homeopathic medicine called NatMur, or Natrium muriaticum. It's a sodium chloride homeopathic solution, and that really helped to tone down that crazy flow of milk, and my baby was able to breastfeed. So I had to take it for maybe 3 months until he was 6 months old. And if I hadn't found this remedy, I seriously don't know if we would have managed to continue. But it really saved our journey, so I hope it'll help you too if you have similar issues. When you breastfeed, at least at the beginning, at least for the first 3 months, if you breastfeed from one side, it's quite common for the other side to leak, and quite a bit. For the first 3 months or so, I was soaked, like literally everything was soaked. All my t-shirts, all my bras were always soaked. So wearing some kind of nipple pads were really important. And I hated the cloth pads. I never even tried the disposable ones, but the cloth pads were just bulky and they were getting wet and soaked and they were just not comfortable and you could see them through the clothes. But then I found the lily pads, which are silicone breast pads, and they were life-changing for me. I highly recommend to check them out if you're looking for something that just feels so dry, so comfortable, and you can wear anything at all. The nipples won't be showing through. It's just life-changing. And I think we reached the last tip, the tip number 10, which is the mindset. Work on your mindset and make sure that you go into this experience with the right mindset. What would be the right mindset? The right mindset would be, I'll just make it happen. No matter what the price is, I will make it happen because that's the best thing for my baby and I in the long term. If you go in thinking, yeah, I'm just going to give it a try, but I don't know, if it doesn't work out, I'll try something else. Trust me that it will not happen, because whatever you do in life, if you go in already doubting it, if you're doubting your success, you will not put 100% of yourself into the project and it will not happen. Same with breastfeeding. If you doubt yourself right from the start, it's not going to happen. You need to really kind of burn the bridges and not leave any other alternative to yourself, and then you'll make it happen. Sure, fed is best, and if whatever you try doesn't work and you have to resort to formula feeding, of course it's better than nothing, it's good, but it's so much better to make this work and to provide all these incredible antibodies and enzymes and everything that comes through the breast milk. And the truth is that motherhood is all about sacrifices, it's all about doing what's best for your baby, and breastfeeding is probably one of the most important ones that you could ever make. 99% of women have no physiological reasons why they shouldn't be able to breastfeed. I feel like in so many cases it's just not having the right information, not having the right support, not having the right mindset. And I really hope that all of these resources, all of these tips that I shared in this video will help you make it a success, because it's worth it. And if it doesn't work out, at least you know that you did absolutely everything you could have done, and fed is best. So enjoy baby, enjoy your breastfeeding experience. And if you have any tips for new moms, expecting moms, any breastfeeding moms, leave them down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.